Oh, hey, it's y'all. Hi. Welcome to In the Nook with Sofia on the Sofia Show. Today we are going to be reading Who Was Rosa Parks by Yona Zeldis Mcdonough. If you remember, in Chapter 1, Rosa Parks, when she was a little girl, there were not fair rights for Black people. So, now we are on Chapter 2. It is called City Lights. Let's get started. First, I always need my glasses. There's my bookmark. Okay. There. Okay. I'm going to put my glasses on. Don't mess with my hair. Alright. Cute. Okay. In 1924, when Rosa was 11, her mother sent her to live with relatives in Montgomery, the Alabama state capital, so she could go to a better school. It was called the Montgomery Industrial School for Girls. The school had been started by white Northerns to help poor Black girls. There were 250 to 300 students. All the teachers were white women from the North. The head of the school, Alice White, was both strict and loving. She expected a lot from her girls. Rosa adored her. From Miss White, Rosa learned to respect herself. She would not set low goals for herself just because she was Black. Rosa was excited to be in Montgomery. To her, it seemed like a big modern city. Early cars, Model Ts, crowded the streets. There were fine shops filled with fancy dresses, hats, and gloves. A football stadium seated 12,000 people. That's a lot of people. Trains on the Louisville and Nashville railroad lines came charging into Union Station, and riverboats brought their cargo of pine and cotton to the wharf. But in some ways, Montgomery was just like Pine Level. One day, Rosa was walking through a white neighborhood. A white boy on roller skates sped by and slammed into her. He was trying to shove her off the sidewalk. She turned and pushed him back. The boy's mother was standing nearby. She told Rosa that she could be put in jail. For what she had done. Forever. In Rosa Parks, My Story, Rosa later wrote, "So I told her that he had pushed me and that I didn't want to be pushed, seeing that I wasn't bothering him at all." She wanted to stand up for herself, and she did. Rosa spent 4 years at Miss White's school. Many whites in Montgomery resented Miss White and the other teachers. What business did they have teaching Black children? Why didn't they just stay up north where they came from? It's a true fact. Twice the school was set on fire. In 1928, it was forced to close. Miss White went back home to Massachusetts. It's a hard word to say. However, she stayed in touch with Rosa, who considered her a loving teacher and dear friend. After that, Rosa attended another all-Black school. She was hoping to become a teacher, like her mother. Then her grandmother got sick. Rosa, who was 16, dropped out of school and moved back to Pine Level to help care for her. That is so loving. I would do the same thing. After her grandmother died, Rosa's mother became ill. Again, Rosa was there to help. She was not happy about leaving school, but she did not complain. To make money, she cleaned houses for white people. Sometimes that wasn't even enough. So she'd stand on the street selling fruit. Rosa worked hard. She also belonged to the St. Paul AME Church. AME stands for African Methodist Episcopal, I think. The church was in the oldest black neighborhood in Montgomery. It was a center of Rosa's life and brought her great joy. Her strong faith helped her to get through her long, tiring days. Sounds like really, really rough. The role of the black church sounds interesting. The first black churches were formed by free blacks in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Petersburg, Virginia, and Savannah, Georgia. The churches began because blacks were not welcome at many white churches. In their own churches, blacks developed a brand of Christianity that drew on African spiritual customs. The churches became centers of their communities. The churches founded schools and helped the poor and those in prison. In the 1960s, the churches were a very important part of the civil rights movement. Their ministers became civil rights leaders. Martin Luther King Jr. was a minister, so was Jesse Jackson. Guys, Martin Luther King Jr. is a very important civil rights leader. The church taught her not to complain or rebel. Instead, she was to place her faith in God. God would take care of her. God would provide. But then she met a bright young man named Raymond Parks. Raymond had a lot of different ideas. This may be interesting. All right, that is chapter 3. So what I learned in chapter 2 was that the civil rights movement was not only led by black people, it was led by civil rights leaders who were black. And they thought that since the white people had their own stuff, they should have their own like churches and homes for themselves. So what I think is that Rosa Parks is a very, very brave little girl. And she was only 11. No, either 11 or 16 when she pushed that boy and he pushed her first. I think she is so brave. She is amazing. I would love to like have a dream about meeting her someday or something like that. But I hope that you like this book or this chapter of the book, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Peace. Love y'all.